Trying to make sure we too wild. All right, looks like we too wild. All right, clap it up. Shalom, Israel. We're the Isupk. Start out at a 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander Junior. We are not affiliated with any other Israelite group or organization, and what we do is teach the truth according to the Bible. And tonight is the Tuesday night Brotherhood class. It's every Tuesday right here in Kansas City, Missouri. So if you're online, or if you're in Kansas City, Kansas City, Missouri, Independence, Raytown, Missouri, Lee Summit, you understand? Feel free to log into class, come to class, ask questions. You understand? We're the Isupk out of Kansas City under Commander Junior. And like I said, tonight is the Tuesday night Brotherhood class. And as you can see on the title, that it says that MLK, what did I put on the title? I know it has something to do with MLK, Salakia. Black leaders like MLK had no brotherhood, which is absolutely true. Black leaders just like MLK, and MLK is like, when it comes to black leaders, you can't tell a Christian, you can't tell a blackity black, you can't tell anyone anything bad about Martin Luther King's dream. He's like the top of black leaders and people who we look, who we look up to. You understand? Especially in the Christian church. In the Christian church, you understand, it's like it's so-called white Jesus. He's number one, and then right after so-called white Jesus is Dr. Martin Luther King. He's right up under the so-called Caesar Borgia, or the white depiction of Yahweh, the white depiction of Jesus. Martin Luther King is right up under that. You understand? And then probably Bill Clinton. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is that we look at black leaders like MLK like he did something so special. And if you listen to class last night, if you listen to General Mahaiman's class, or if you listen to Commander Junior's radio show last night, they went into a lot of detail how disgusting and how vile and how fake MLK really was. Because in front of the camera, of course, when anyone's in front of the camera, they're going to be on their best behavior. You understand? That's the difference between so-called black leaders in the world and the men and priest and prophet in the Isupk up under Commander Junior. We live our lives as if we're being filmed on camera 24/7. You understand? We don't have to hide our true character or hide who we are, because in real life, we practice integrity. Something black leaders never do. They have no integrity. And the reason they don't have any integrity inside the Christian church is because they tell you God's laws are done away with. So if you got this cat like Dr. Martin Luther King, when we bring out the truth, how disgusting he really was, how he didn't do anything for black people, how we benefited nothing from his dream, people come up against us like we're the most evil men in the world. When in fact, he did all the evil right in front of your faces, and no one said anything, because the Christian church is a respecter of persons. As long as someone is benefiting from the dream of Dr. Martin Luther King, no one cares. As long as you can go out and sleep with as many so-called white women or oppressor women as you want to, no one cares about the disgusting acts you hide behind closed doors. As long as you bring your money, as long as you can feed your pastor and give him all the luxurious, delicious things in the earth, he doesn't care about your well-being. He doesn't care about you going out, having to suck rod to pay your rent. He doesn't care about you having to, go out and sell your body in order to feed your children, because he's benefiting. And that's the same spirit that's inside the Christian church that Dr. Martin Luther King had. He said before his demise, he felt as if he led his people into a burning building. He said that out of his own mouth. But that's not what he's remembered by. He's remembered by the dream. And you want to know why? The oppressor wants you to remember his dream, to give you the false hope, so you can continue to be a good slave, so we can continue to be, so we can continue to try to convince our oppressor that we are people too, that we're human beings too, that we're equal. You understand? It's just to give us a false hope that we're somebody too. And as long as we believe in that hope, we won't have anything in real life. Just like we don't have anything right now. We don't have a black military. We don't have a black police force. We don't have a black, we don't have a black anything. We have so-called black people who are rich and wealthy. But when I'm talking about we don't have anything, I'm talking about as a nation. You understand? So we don't have any police departments. We don't have any army. We don't have any, one representing so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians here in America in the, where all the nations gather. You understand? We're considered Americans. We're considered blacks. We're considered Africans. We're considered Mexicans, Puerto Ricans. We're considered Native Indians when that's not our true identity. We're represented as these other nations, and we're all mixed in with these other nations, and they have to represent us. When in the Bible, the Most High God said if we would have kept the commandments of the Lord, that he would have been our power, that our identity would have never have been taken if we would have obeyed. But now you got cats that are sellouts like Dr. Martin Luther King, who sold his, who sold us pretty much. He didn't sell us in captivity, but he kept us. He's keeping us in captivity even longer by this dream, which is a demon and a plague to black and Hispanics, man. Because the Bible said that we are the greatest nation to ever walk the earth. The Bible said we are to separate from all the other nations. So why is it that Dr. Martin Luther King wants us to join hand in hand with all these other nations when in the Bible, the Most High God said that we ought to separate? You understand? That's how you know when someone is a false prophet, because they teach things that are not in the Bible. They say that they're reverends. They say that they're pastors. They say that they're doctors. But in reality, they're just devils, like their father, who's the oppressor and the devil that the Bible speaks of. You understand? So that's one of the problems with, us bringing in yesterday, the whole MLK so-called holiday. It was a lot of cats that was happy that they was off. It was a lot of people happy that they, didn't have to go to work. They were making big deals about people who were working. I'm talking about so-called black people. They were making big deals because people were actually working on Martin Luther King Day. As if that is something to celebrate. As if Martin Luther King did something great for blacks, Hispanic, and Native Indians. He didn't do anything. At the integration, we didn't have any more HBCUs. We didn't have any more black Wall Streets. There were no more black doctors. The economy, well, not the economy, Salakia. The black community is in horrible shape. The neighborhoods were much better. They were much safer. They were much cleaner. You understand? We stayed to ourselves. We actually had more brotherhood prior to integration than we do now. Things are really worse now. You understand? To keep it 100, things are really worse. Because Dr. Martin Luther King, what he did, why his dream was so wicked, was give us the false hope that one day we can be equal to the oppressor. When our oppressor, the so-called white man, is never going to look at us as equal as themselves. You know what I'm saying? As his nation. He's not going to look at you. He's not going to look at Jamal as if he's equal to Tom. Or equal to, what's one of those oppressor names? What's one of them real Ken? You're not going to be equal to Ken or Brent, Jamal or Dre. You understand? Or what's another one? What's another good Isupk name? You understand? Juan. Juan, you're not going to be equal to Ken or Brent. Jamal, you're not going to be equal to Ken or Brent. You understand? Because we are two different nations. And their nation right now is currently ruling the entire earth. We're not going to be in rulership with the same nation that bought us to America in captivity. Because they set the rules. They set the standards. They called us the names that we call ourselves today. They call us African Americans, so we call ourselves African Americans. You understand? They are different. They are of another nation. And it's not a bad thing to look at your nation as superior. That's how blacks and Hispanics and Native Indians should start. We should start looking at ourselves like we're superior, like the Bible says. But instead, we're wasting so much time to prove to our oppressor that we're equal, when we're not equal. We're actually better. You understand? We're actually better than these other nations. And if you don't believe me, I can read it right here in the Bible. I can read it right here with black Hispanics and Native Indians, where the Most High God in the Bible says that we are better. That we are better than these other nations. And here you have Dr. Martin Luther King, the sellout, who wants to join us hand in hand with another nation that we're better than. But because he didn't have brotherhood, because he was bamboozled by his own lust, he thought it'd be better to go out and join hands with the oppressor so he can chase white tail. Yeah, that's what he was doing it for. He was sleeping with all those white prostitutes, all those white hoes, Salakia, because he had a fetish and had a lust, and he hated his own people. Whenever you can go out and sleep with the oppressor, the same nation who had your forefathers and foremothers in captivity, you hate your nation, man. You hate your nation. You love another nation. You prefer another nation more than you prefer your own. And in the Bible, it says that we should not sleep with other nations, that we should sleep with one of the 12 tribes or marry, because sex is marriage in the Bible. You understand? You should marry someone in your nation. You shouldn't marry someone from another nation, because that's showing that you don't care about your nation, man. You understand? So I'm going to read it real quick. Let me go to Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 3. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. So the Most High God was talking to the children of Israel. He understand. He said when he gives us this land where we should go, that we shouldn't, what do they call it? We shouldn't have interracial marriages, as they call it today. The Most High God is against interracial marriages. He's against a so-called black man marrying a so-called white woman. He's against a so-called black woman marrying a so-called Arab man. He's against us marrying Hamites or Africans and Chinese and Japanese. The Most High God said that that's a sin according to the Bible. And not because of our skin texture, not because of our hair, because, well, I'm going to read it. It's not because of what we look like. You understand? The Most High God, he didn't, say it because it was of colorism. You understand? Because the Africans are a dark nation as well. You understand? Those East Indians are a dark nation as well. You understand? The Moabites are a lighter nation. You understand? Our Isupk brothers and Puerto Rican brothers are a lighter nation. But they're the same nation as we are. They're a lighter brother and sister, but we are from the same nation. So just because someone is lighter, just because someone is darker, doesn't mean that you're closer in, being relatives or being closer in nation. This has to do with who the Most High God chose, which is the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, which is the seed of Israel, Yasha'Allah in the Hebrew. That is who your brother and sister is. That is who your neighbor is according to the Bible. You understand? So the Lord said when we come into this land that he gives us, you understand, that we shouldn't give our sons and daughters to these other nations. And we shouldn't accept their sons and their daughters to marry inside of our nation, because that's a sin according to the Bible. And if you don't know what sin is the transgression of the law. And the law is the first 5 books in the Bible. You understand? The law is the first 5 books in the Bible. You have Genesis, you have Exodus, you have Leviticus, you have Numbers, and you also have Deuteronomy. That's where you can find the law. And right now, we're in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 3, which is the law according to the Bible. We are not to have interracial marriages, you understand? Because God said it's a sin. So if you want to go out, if you're some ball player like LeBron James, or if you're some ball player like Charles Barkley, let me use Charles Barkley because at least LeBron James, he married a sister. You understand? I can't charge him with that. I can't charge LeBron James with marrying the oppressor because he didn't. He stayed with his sister, which all blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians should do. But Charles Barkley, on the other hand, he married some oppressor. He married some, he married someone that is not of his nation, man. And the Most High God is displeased with any brother or any sister who marries some oppressor, who marries some Arab, who marries some African, who marries some Moabite, who marries some Ammonite. The Lord is displeased with the children of Israel when we disobey his laws. And interracial marriage is a sin according to the Most High God, according to the Bible. You understand? So let me go back to Deuteronomy 7 and 3. And it reads, neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. So this was what Martin Luther King taught, because this is what he believed in. And I seen that statue, that hideous statue that everybody is sharing. You have some people making fun of it. I don't even understand the statue, his arms crossing. And then I seen one angle. So I'm assuming, no, they're saying, I'm not assuming, they're saying that that's him hugging his woman, Coretta Scott King, because they had a picture of Dr. Martin Luther King and his wife that he was hugging with the same arms, with that same arm, that same pose of them together. And it's showing how their arms line up to that picture. Now, the Bible allows men to marry however many women that they want. You can marry however many women that you want, according to the Bible. You understand? But God said you can only marry within your tribes. You can only marry within one of the 12 tribes. And if you're a brother, man, you got 12 tribes of bad sisters. You got 12 tribes of bad sisters, man. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians is not a better woman on earth. It's not a more beautiful woman on earth. I mean, tell me what other nation of people can compare to a sister. I mean, you see sisters like Megan Thee Stallion, Cardi B, Beyonce, all the sisters I be seeing at Walmart in Kansas City or out in traffic, period. You see sisters out in traffic. I mean, tell me one oppressor. Tell me one Moabite. Tell me one Arab that's just a showstopper. You'll see her and be like, man. I mean, maybe if your mind is a little dirty, maybe if you don't love your sisters or love your own nation like Martin Luther King, but what other nation of women can compare to the 12 tribes of Israel, man? Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. I still haven't seen them. No African, no Hamite. I mean, Salakia. No. Not for me. I mean, you can find a bad sister in the 12 tribes of Israel, and you don't have to go outside your nation like Martin Luther King, because he was sleeping with oppressor women right before he was going out to give speeches. The FBI files proves it. This is on record. This is on record, man. And I know what you Christians are going to say. Oh, you guys are just hating on MLK. You're not perfect. That's a Christian's favorite line when you tell them that they're sinning. When you show a Christian that they're, not blameless, like the Bible says, like Yahushua, like Jesus Christ told us to be, the Most High God said, be perfect. Christ said, be perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect. And here we go following cats like Dr. Martin Luther King, who was sleeping with hoes. And we make excuses for his behavior because if he's doing it, right? If Martin Luther King is doing it, hell, I mean, it makes me feel a little bit better about doing it myself, because the man who is a reverend, the man who is supposed to be a leader for black people, he's doing it. So if he's doing it, it ain't no foul ball. He did it. That means I can do it. You understand? It makes me feel a little bit more comfortable in my transgressions against the Most High God. And that's all Christianity teaches. That's all MLK taught. When we're reading in the Bible that interracial marriages is a sin, we say it's okay because MLK did it. We say it's okay because the NAACP says, we should join hand in hand like MLK to keep the name alive, to keep the spirit of that false ideology, that false rhetoric that MLK was teaching blacks and Hispanics, man. It's a false doctrine, and it's a devil doctrine, and it's a demon that has plagued my people for, a very long time, man. For a very long time. But hey, yeah, I mean, what do I know? Back to the Bible. Back to the Bible, man. Let me get back to it. Deuteronomy 7:3. I'm going to read this one more time and read on. Neither shall thou make marriages with them. Thy daughters thou shalt not give unto his sons, nor his daughter shall thou take unto thy sons. And let me make this clear, which I made it clear, and I said it earlier. The Most High God didn't say because of skin color. You understand? This is a nationality thing. This is a nation thing, man. This has to do with your nation. White, black, light, yellow, dark, whatever. It has nothing to do with your skin color. So before you say the men and before you say the Isupk is racist, you understand, and you try to compare us to the KKK, we're not. We're simply teaching the Most High God's words. We're not like the KKK. The KKK is a hate group. They simply hated people because of the color of their skin. We don't hate people because of the color of their skin. We don't hate people because of the texture of your hair. We don't hate people because your cheeks get a little rosy when it's cold, or you blush and you turn red, or because you're dark as the night. We don't hate people because of their physical attributes. You understand? We hate nations of people for the same reason the Most High God hates nations of people. You understand? And let me keep reading, man. Verse 4. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Most High God be kindled. Salakia. So will the anger of the Most High be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. That's why we are to separate from these other nations. Because if we don't separate, we'll start worshiping their gods. We'll start trying to act like them and start keeping their culture. We'll forget that the Most High God said that we are a special people, like MLK. MLK didn't want to endure with the special people. MLK didn't want to suffer with his brother or suffer with his sister. He didn't want to endure because he forgot that his people is a special people. And then he started serving other gods. He started worshiping other gods. His main god was that so-called oppressor woman. He worshiped that so-called oppressor woman. He worshiped it so much that the FBI said that what they have recorded was at least 40 different women. When they had that statue, now they would have this statue of wanting to represent him with his rib, Coretta Scott King, of the arms holding when he was going out chasing tail with oppressor women. So he had those poor children marching, getting bit by dogs, getting shot by fire hoses, hit by water pressure. I mean, water pressure that puts out fires, man, coming out of fire hydrant. Those poor black kids and black people were getting dog sick on them. They were getting shot by fire hoses. They were getting beat mutilated, harassed, so he can go sleep with white women. You understand? He didn't have any brotherhood. Just like your pastor in the Christian church doesn't have any brotherhood. Because they benefit inside the Christian church off your downfall. Off blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians' downfall. They benefit off our rough and poor conditions. Because they play on our emotions in order for us to pay tithes. You understand? They know the Bible, but yet they don't teach the Bible. You understand? They don't teach the Bible, man. But yet they play off your emotions to get us to pay our money inside the church. That way they can ride around in Rolls Royces. That way they can sleep with all the so-called white women they want. That way they can have all the fancy suits and million-dollar homes while we're in the ghettos, the barrios, and the reservations struggling to eat, struggling to pay our bills, can't pay our taxes. We have to use WIC. We have to use welfare. Why the hell do we have to use or rely on the government when the Christian church has stolen over $8 billion? And I might have that number wrong. It might be 8 trillion. And I believe it's $8 trillion. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's 8 billion or 8 trillion. But I believe it's $8 trillion that the Christian church has stolen for so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians. So why do we have to depend on anything or anybody when all the churches that are lined up and down Prospect, all the churches that are lined up and down Truce, all the churches that are lined up and down Paseo have collected these tithes? Why is anyone struggling to put a meal on their table? Why is anyone struggling to buy their kids school supplies and clothes? You want to know why? Because we serve other gods. We don't serve the gods of the Bible. You understand? We marry into other cultures. And they exploit us and use us. And then our black leaders, they do the same thing. They do the same thing. So MLK was no different from Donald Trump. MLK was no different from Joe Biden. They're the same. Because they take advantage of their own people for their own gain. You understand? They're no different, man. They're disgusting, horrible leaders. And the Isupk since 1969 has been exposing these false prophets and these false leaders, man. And they need to be exposed. They need to be held accountable. Because we need to break the chains and the curses to get our people to realize that voting, that MLK Day has done absolutely nothing for so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians, man. Am I lying? Am I making this up? No, I'm not making this up. Which brings me to my story. I have a story. I have an article I want to share from this brother, who got tased on MLK Day. And in the article in the Kansas City Star there, this article came out yesterday or the day before yesterday. They're making a big deal because he got tased. It is a big deal for any black and Hispanic who is, goes through racism or faces racism. But they're making a big deal is because he got tased on MLK Day. Well, hello. Our oppressor is the devil that the Bible speaks of. You think because it's an MLK Day that you get a pass? When the only reason we got MLK Day is because, they want to keep us dumb. They want to keep us, slaves. And the whole fact that we had to go out and march to an oppressor, to a nation of people who hates us, to prove that we are human, to prove that we are men too, to prove that Black Lives Matter, the fact that we have to go out and prove to a nation to have compassion on someone who you put in slavery for over 500 years, who you raped, robbed, murdered, took their children, used their babies for gator bait, made Negro skin shoes, to prove to a nation, someone like that we are human too, proves that they are the devil. Proves that why are we trying to prove to someone who has hated us so much that we're equal? Why the hell would you want to be equal to a nation of people who are so disgusting? Who the Most High God hates? In Romans chapter 9, verse 13, it says, Jacob, who I love, Jacob meaning the 12 lost tribes of Israel. Jacob is the so-called black man. Jacob is the so-called Hispanic man. Jacob is the so-called native man. The Lord said he loved Jacob, but he hated Esau. He hated Esau. I can't even say hated. He hates Esau. He hates Esau. So why in the hell are we trying to prove to a nation of devils that the Lord, that the nation of people that the Lord hates, that we are equal to? We need to stop wasting so much damn time trying to prove to our oppressor that, we are somebody too. And we better start proving to our brothers and to our sisters, all the ones in your communities, all the ones in the churches who you can't stand, we need to start proving to each other that we love each other. And say to hell with all these other nations, man. And come together, like it says in Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 1, like God commands, and come together and let, the nation that is not desired. We are the people not desired by these other nations. We need to come together and say to hell with them and worry about us. We would get much further than trying to go march and prove to these other nations that we're equal. If we forget and say to hell with these other nations, and every so-called black, Latino, or Native Indian man that you see, you gave that same energy. You understand? Everybody's going off this energy. You give that same love. You give them same vibes to the people, God's chosen people. Man, we would grow tremendously as a nation, man. We would have the kingdom of heaven. If we loved each other like we loved ourselves, we would have the kingdom of heaven, man. But instead, we have the spirit of MLK. We have the spirit of MLK who has done absolutely nothing for black people, man. Absolutely nothing for black people. But yet, we won't, love our neighbors. I guess all our neighbors are just so-called white people, man. I guess that's all our neighbors, man. All our neighbors is these other nations, not our own. But, who am I? You know what I mean? I only read the Bible. I only study under Commander Junior Hanna. And I learn from, the best teachers, the only teacher who is authorized to teach so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians. You understand? You don't want to listen to Commander Junior Hanna. You don't want to listen to the Isupk since 1969, who was prophesying that life would be better if we separate from our oppressor. You don't want to listen to us. You rather listen to MLK. Some guy who's going to sit by and allow his friends who are pastors to rape women. Some guy who cheats on his wife multiple times for so-called white women. Some guy who admitted that he led his nation of people inside a burning house. He admitted that. Well, Commander Junior Hanna doesn't have anything to admit other than he is the leader of so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Indian. He's the leader of the nation of Israel. And he loves his nation, man. He loves his nation, man. He understands what true brotherhood is. He understands what sisterhood is. He understands you have to make sacrifices for your whole nation. All the men in the ISUPK under Commander Junior Hanna, we all understand this. We make these sacrifices. Men have lost wives. Men have lost children. Brothers have even lost their life. By doing this truth, by putting in this work to save the same nation of people that Christ came to save. You understand? He only came to save so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians. He only came to save the children of Israel. Why the hell are we worried about all these other nations when they have saviors? You understand? They have saviors, but we don't. We don't have saviors. You understand? Our Savior is coming back to redeem his people. Our Savior is coming back to put the enemies of his people to death. And if you're on the wrong side, if you have that MLK spirit, you're on the wrong side, man. If you got that spirit of MLK, you're not on the side of Christ. You're on the side of your oppressor, the so-called white man, which is the devil the Bible speaks of. If you have that same spirit, you're on the wrong side. If you celebrated MLK, you're not on the side of Christ, man. You understand? You're not on the side of the Most High God. If you sleep with so-called white women, if you marry white men, you're on the side of the oppressor. You're not on the side of Christ. If you celebrated your birthday here recently or any time last year, you're not on the side of Christ, man. If you celebrated Christmas, you're not on the side of the Most High. If you celebrated Thanksgiving, if you're about to celebrate what's coming up, Valentine's Day, you're not on the side of the Most High God. We make these sacrifices for our nation. When we say these things, people look at us like we're crazy. They say we're in a cult. Our family members disown us because we teach the truth according to the Bible. You understand? We teach the truth according to the Bible, and yet our family, our friends, people we grew up with, they look at us like we're crazy. All because we teach the Bible. The same thing that they did to Yahushua. The same thing that they did to Christ. Yeah, if you celebrated those things, man, if you sleep with white women, if you have the spirit of MLK, you're against Christ. And if you're against Christ, then, man, you're against the Most High God, man. You understand? Let me check this chat. All right, it says, Shalom, Yahweh Shemal Al-Taba Hashem Yahshua, Sister Zar, Yahweh, officer, Salakia, Rib, a priest and officer, 1,000, Tazan. You know what I mean? Shout out, Officer Tazan. You understand? Real strong brother out there in Iowa holding it down. But yeah, man, if you have this spirit of MLK, you're going against Christ. You understand? And I want to get into this article before it gets too late. Let me find it. All right. Now, this article came out, like I said, was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? It's loading real quick. 1 second. A day ago. It came out a day ago, yesterday. Now, this article is in the Kansas City Star. It's a local newspaper. And it says, KC, Kansas City police pepper sprayed him in a viral video. He's still fighting for his community. Now, this brother got pepper sprayed. This is in the headline. And it says that he is still fighting for his community, which is nothing wrong. You should fight for your community. But oftentimes, brothers don't know who or what their community is. Not biblically, anyway. Because you feel like your community is anyone who stays next door to you. You feel like your community is anyone, you stay by. Anyone that you can relate to. When that's not your neighborhood. You understand? Your community, according to the Bible, is your neighbor. And your neighbor, according to the Bible, is your brother. And your brother is anyone, if you're Israelite, that is, so-called black men, Latino men, and Native Indian men and women as well, man. And children and everything, black, Latinos, and Native Indians. That is who your community, that is who your neighbor, and that is who your brother is, man, according to the Bible. And I'm pretty sure Martin Luther King believed in the Bible. He just didn't have any brotherhood. The odds were never in favor of Terrence Maddox growing up as a black man in the crime and poverty of urban Kansas City, Kansas. So it says the odds were never with this brother because he grew up in the crime and poverty in the urban Kansas City, Kansas. Now, just how this opens up just shows it's so Christian. And it's so disgusting in my eyes because this gives off the spirit that, when brothers make it financially if they go to the NBA or if they become rap stars, because they came from poverty and now they have all this money, they feel like they made it. And if you made it, what does that mean? That means you have to move out the hood. That means you don't come back and give to the hood. That means that you're going to take your money elsewhere and spend it outside of the hood. You're going to go buy you a $2-3 million house, and where, shout out to Officer Bond, where the people are riding around on golf carts. You understand? And they're living on golf fields, whatever they're called, golf courses. You understand? They're living on golf courses, man. You're going to go live by neighbors, and you never played golf a day in your damn life. But all of a sudden, you get wealth. You get resources that can help your nation, and you go move with the oppressor, closer to the oppressor. You understand? So now, since all the odds are against this brother, you understand? Hey, the grass is going to be greener on the other side one day whenever you get that bag. You understand? That's what that statement stands out. You understand? When the oppressor has killed and slaughtered us by the millions. And the reason our neighborhoods, and remember this and dig this, understand this, that the reason our neighborhoods are so poor and terrible and have so much crime is because integration. It's because of poverty. Because of Dr. Martin Luther King and his lack of brotherhood. Because when you take all the resources out of the neighborhood and you spend all the money outside of the community, what happens? All the black businesses suffer. All the black businesses fail. No more Black Wall Street. No more Negro Leagues. Nothing. Because we decided to join hands and that the grass is greener on the other side and that, it's a better life, drinking out of a so-called white man's water fountain. You understand? And marrying their women. So just with this statement alone, it's just disgusting. Let me keep reading, man. But instead of becoming another statistic, this is so Christian. Oh, I made it. I didn't become another statistic. You understand? Because they say a so-called black man isn't supposed to live, over 21? You understand? 22? So keep in mind the crime in our neighborhoods came from integration. That's why we're statistics. Not because, Negroes, just hate Negroes, which we do in a sense, but it's because of poverty. Your oppressor created these conditions so we would kill each other. But we're blind to that fact because of holidays like MLK. And this is why the Isupk under Commander General Yohana is so important, man. That's why it is so important that we shine light on all these situations and all this truth and all these lies so our people can wake up and understand that you're not in poverty because, you're black or because you're Hispanic. You're not in poverty because you're not in poverty because you're a native Indian. You're in poverty because of design. And your oppressor hates the fact that you're black. Your oppressor hates the fact that you're a native Indian or Hispanic. That's why we have crime in our neighborhood. It's about design. You understand? Because they're racist. Real haters. You understand? Let me keep reading. But instead of becoming another statistic, Maddox, echoing the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., dedicated his life to fighting for his community, now serving his second term as the president of the Kansas City, Kansas NAACP chapter. The 40-year-old educator has no intention of letting anything stop him. So he said he ain't got no intentions of letting nothing stop him from pushing the NAACP and following Dr. Martin Luther King's dream. You understand? Keep in mind, this brother was maced on MLK Day by the oppressor, right? Let me keep reading. In quote, I wanted to see better in my community and see people achieving goals instead of going to jail, says Maddox. But then It was understanding that poverty creates a lot of turmoil, and we need to provide those resources to shed light on our tough situations. Guess what? You're never going to shine light on our tough situations if you follow Martin Luther King, because he gave it all up. He gave it all up. He gave all up. He gave all our resources up when he decided to have this dream and be in hand and blah blah blah, all that garbage that he was speaking in that in that speech, all that garbage he was talking in that speech. We gave up all the resources. We gave it up. So we can't go back and try to create more resources using the same old ways of Martin Luther King, because it didn't work. So why the hell would you go back and try and quote Martin Luther King when his dream failed and his way of thinking and his doctrine and MLK Day and all that, it didn't work. It didn't work. And you and your situation is a prime example that it didn't work. The poverty in the ghettos, the barrios, and the reservations is proof that it didn't work. So why continue to try to force a way to work when it doesn't work? Why the hell would you keep trying to start a car when the engine is blown? That's following MLK's dream. That's like starting a damn car with a blown engine thinking you about to drive somewhere. It's never going to work because it needs to be fixed. And the only way it's going to be fixed is if Black, Latinos, and Native Indians follow the Bible. If we separate like the Most High God told us to separate. That's the only way our problems will be fixed, is if we follow the Most High God in Christ, man. Not MLK, not TD Jakes, not Creflo Dollar, not Christianity. None of that is going to fix our problems in the ghettos, reservations, and the barrios, man. None of it. And his brother is proof. Let me keep reading. Maddox may be best known for the viral video at a Black Lives Matter protest near the Country Club Plaza in 2020. And everybody remember the Black Lives Matter happened because of George Floyd, another so-called black man that was killed, that was unalived or put to death by the hands of our oppressor because, you know, whatever reason that the oppressor always has put us to death because of hate. You understand? So that brother George Floyd, life was taken because they were saying he had counterfeit money and he had his knee on his neck. What's his name? Derek Chauvin, whatever that oppressor's name is, had his knee on his neck for what, 7 plus minutes. And he ended up being unalive because of his actions. And, you know, of course, he got off or he got a slap on the wrist, just like all of them do. You understand? This brother Maddox was protesting because just like any other black and Hispanic, when you see your brother go through something, man, it hurts your soul. It hurts to see another black man put to death for no reason. So brothers and sisters went out and marched, just like Martin Luther King, protest, just like Martin Luther King taught, right? He taught us to march and protest, and you got to fight for your rights, and you got to hold up your fist, and you got to hold signs, and you got to prove to massa that it is some good Negroes out here, massa. That's what MLK taught us to do. If the Christian church cared anything about so-called black people, that we wouldn't be being put to death or unalive by the hands of our oppressor if we kept God's laws. If we had brotherhood, if we had sisterhood, we wouldn't be unalive. We wouldn't be harming each other. We wouldn't be being put to death by our oppressor. We wouldn't have neighborhoods that were full of crime. We would have the resources that we need, but because of lack of brotherhood, because we want to prove that we can be brothers to the oppressor, we will never have it. because the laws are done away with according to the Christian church, and they want to join hand in hand like MLK. It's never going to work. It's been over 500 years. It isn't going to work. We have to get that through our minds. It isn't going to work. Give that same energy vibe to another so-called black man, to another so-called Hispanic man, to another so-called Native Indian man. Give that same strength and power and uplifting to your own nation, man. And watch how we come up. I guarantee it, man. Watch how we come up. We're going to come all the way up. Because it's prophesied in the Bible that we would if we obeyed the Most High God. We would have a power. We wouldn't have to depend on our oppressor. We wouldn't have to depend on welfare. We wouldn't have to depend on WIC. We wouldn't have to depend on PPP loans. We wouldn't have to depend on drug money. We wouldn't have to depend on stripper and hoe money. We would just depend on brotherhood. We would depend on the Most High God. But instead, we depend on our oppressor system, and that has gotten us absolutely nowhere, man. Nowhere. You understand? Let me keep reading. The video showed Maddox and Salaki, I didn't finish reading this other. The clip found its way onto a segment covering the nationwide protest and police response on Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. The video showed Maddox and his children peacefully protesting on the sidewalk, adjacent to two lines of officers in riot gear. Officers approached Maddox, pepper sprayed him and his 15-year-old daughter, then slammed him to the ground while people watched in shock. Now here you have it. A brother who cares about his community. This brother cares about what happened to George Floyd. This brother cares about what happened to his community. He cared so much that he brought his 15-year-old daughter out here to protest peacefully to prove the point that Martin Luther King was right. To prove the point that Martin Luther King was right. When Martin Luther King, out of his own mouth, said he felt as if he led his people inside a burning house. That burning house is that peaceful protest. That's the burning house. Trying to join hands with the oppressor. That's the burning house. Trying to show that we are equal. That's the burning house. And this brother has the same spirit as MLK. And that burning house got him and his daughter pepper sprayed and slammed on the ground as if they were in the 60s with MLK. But things are supposed to be better. Black lives are supposed to matter. We are, we are men too. When the same things are happening back then before MLK's dream are happening now after that nightmare that he prophesied or falsely prophesied about. Same thing is happening. You understand? On MLK Day. As if it even makes a difference. I wish I was surprised. I wish I was surprised that he got pepper sprayed on MLK Day. You understand? Hell, all the MLK streets, everywhere, on the most horrible streets, everywhere across the globe. And I'm not making it up. I'm not making it up. All the so-called MLK streets across America, whether you go to St. Louis, Chicago, everywhere, they're horrible. They don't have them on the good streets. They're not on the so-called white man part of town. Yeah, leave that dream over there with you niggas. Salakia. Leave that dream over there for you. But you better have that false hope that you can be, as equal as your oppressor. Thinking that you can be equal to your oppressor is going to get you pepper sprayed, is going to get you slammed, and even killed or unalived like MLK. Let's not forget, he was put to death by an oppressor who didn't share the same dreams as him, who wanted to be separate, who valued his nation more than he valued Negroes. He unalived Dr. Martin Luther King after Martin Luther King said that he felt as if he led his people into a burning house. Why didn't we learn from that? Why couldn't that be the legacy of Martin Luther King? I said it earlier if you were paying attention. Anybody want to take a guess? Anybody want to take a guess of why MLK's legacy isn't that he led us into a burning building, but yet his legacy is that all mankind can join hand in hand? Anybody want to give it a guess? Let me see if we got anybody online. All right, the answer to the question is because they want to keep us slaves. They want to keep us slaves. They want to keep our mind on all this false hope that, maybe one day that our oppressor, if we just march enough, if we just, if we just keep peacefully protesting, that our oppressor is going to have some type of compassion and empathy on us, and maybe one day they'll give us that 40 acre and a mule. You understand? Maybe they'll give us that 40 acre and a mule one day. Maybe they'll look at us as their equal counterparts. Maybe they'll stop killing us. Maybe we won't have so much poverty in the ghettos, barrios, and reservations. When that's not true, that's not the truth or the fact of the matter at all. They don't push the fact that MLK said that, maybe he led his people into a burning house. It's to keep us docile, man. You understand? They rather push the dream, which isn't reality at all, which really is a nightmare, because our oppressor benefits more if we are slaves, just like they benefited when we was actually picking cotton. It's no different today. You understand? So that answers the question. And let me go back to this article with this brother. So the video showed him and his daughter being pepper sprayed and slammed on the ground. Maddox recounts how in a split second he went from a college educated black man to just another victim of police brutality. This brother just has this Christian spirit all on him. Let me tell you something. Just because you're a college educated black man, I know you would like to believe that inside the Christian church. I know that, that's what they may teach inside the NAACP. I know that, you feel that because you got an education and you may talk this way, and, you don't sag your pants, and, you do everything according to the law as your oppressor. Guess what? The damn devil, the oppressor of the Bible, doesn't give a damn if you have a college education. Hell, they pull over it's tons of stories of black police officers who are pulled over by other oppressor police officers, and they get treated horribly. And they're all on the same police force. They don't give a damn if you have a college education. They don't give a damn if you wear the same badge they wear. They don't give a damn if they brought you to this country and they allowed us to vote and have civil rights and allow you to drink from the white water fountains and allow you to wear their designer clothes and shoes and allow you to marry their women and marry their men. They don't give a damn. They will never look at us as being equal on any kind of level. Period, man. Period. I mean, we'll keep waiting for this dream of Martin Luther King. I mean, when the hell is the dream supposed to come true? When the hell is the dream supposed to come true? I thought he had the dream before he gave the speech. And after he gave the speech at the integration, like I said, things went all the way downhill. Things are horrible right now, man, in the Black, Latino, and Native Indian community. And you can't make it up, because the proof is every day. Our situations and our lifestyles every day proves that we are in horrible conditions. We are in horrible times. Brothers are still being put to death unrighteously, by racist so-called white people. You can't even enjoy a bowl of ice cream in your own apartment by getting, while your house getting broke into by some oppressor police officer, and she opens fire on you, and then her only excuse is that she thought she was in her apartment. Or you can't jog without being so-called black and being put to death because you're jogging and exercising. You can't go protest like this brother peacefully without getting maced and slammed on the ground. This is why we warn our people that mentality, that doctrine, that MLK spirit is you being led in a house that is on fire. He said it out of his own mouth. So why keep that same spirit when that spirit is going to hurt you, man? It's going to kill your kids. It's going to kill your wife. It's going to kill you. If we have that spirit of MLK, we're going to be put to death. Because he already said that he felt as if he led his people into a burning house. He said it. So if you want to have that same spirit, go ahead. Go ahead. We'll see how long it works. It's not going to work too much longer because a so-called black man by the name of Yahushua is coming back to redeem his people. He's coming back to save his people. And he's coming back to put the oppressor into chains and to avenge all the nation of Israel that was done unjust here in America and all four corners of the earth, man. And you can bet your last dollar on that. So Maddox recounts how in a split second he went from a college-educated black man to just another victim of police brutality. And this brother doesn't realize, but he doesn't really love black people neither. He's separating himself by saying that he has a college education. So if you don't have a college education, if you don't have a college education, you're just a nigga or a spick or Indian or a savage. You understand? You just you're just a bum. Because I have a college education. I'm better than these other people. I shouldn't get treated like them. He doesn't realize that's what he's saying. He's separating himself from his brother. When the men in Isupk under Commander General Hanna, there are men that are brilliant, way more brilliant than I am. I was a rough cat off the street. I didn't know nothing. You understand? Outside of coming into this truth, man, I didn't know anything. I was a horrible student in school. I didn't graduate. I was horrible. But my brothers in here don't look at me like they're better than me because they may have a doctorate degree or a master's degree in something. They might be doctors or lawyers. Everyone inside the ISUPK under Commander General Hanna is important because we are all God's children. You understand? We are all God's children. We don't have to be on a upper class or feel like we're in an upper class to make us feel like we're somebody. Everyone is somebody. Everyone, as long as you're so-called black, Latino, or Native Indian, is a children of God. And the Most High God chose us out of all the other nations, no matter your social status, because the Most High God is a respecter of persons, man. Unlike your Christian pastor, and unlike this brother here, obviously. My mental state was, what is about to happen? Are we about to be attacked? Are they going to bother my children? We are in a group of people, so I didn't know they were coming for me specifically, says Maddox. That was the direct reflection of what black people were saying they were dealing with. Salakia, says the father of six. So why are we not allowed to use our constitutional rights? I am a vigilant civil activist who will stand up for the rights of everyone and stand against any system of oppression in our country. And that's the problem. You can't stand up for everyone. You have to stand up for your people, because they're not going to stand up for everyone. You're going to stand up for everyone for them. Listen to me good. They're not going to stand up for everyone. We are going to stand up for everyone else for the oppressor. You understand? We fought for all those civil rights and for all that integration. And these so-called Hamites can come over here and live, tax-free. All these other nations benefit more from all the civil rights marches, all the protests, all the fighting we did. All these other nations benefit more than we do. They come over here and live good, man. And here we are using WIC to get milk. Here we are, selling drugs to our own people to have a way of life, to have an income. We're willing to destroy our own people, sell drugs to our own people, because we think that that's success. These other nations don't think like we do. They don't, have the same issues we have. These issues need to be fixed in our community. So this brother said he'll go out and fix everyone's problem. If you're willing to fix everyone's problem, I'm not saying that he's not willing to fix his own problems in his own neighborhood, in our own neighborhood, but we don't have time to waste on everyone else's problems. Our direct focus needs to be on so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians. If your focus is not on your own nation and your own nation alone, then you're wasting time, man. You're wasting time. And yeah, you're going to get slammed down. You're going to get maced. You're going to get tased. You're going to get dog sicked on you. Just like Dr. Martin Luther King had all those people. You're going to walk into a burning building and you're not even going to see it coming. You understand? But thanks to the ISUPK under Commander General Yohana, we don't have to walk into a burning building anymore, man. Our children don't have to be tortured by our oppressor. You don't have to be slammed down on the concrete or maced, because we understand what true brotherhood is. We love our nation. Commander General Yohana loves his nation, just like Christ. And if you want to learn how to defend your nation correctly, if you want to learn how to fight oppression without marching and putting your life on the line and your children's life on the line, and let me correct that, because our life is on the line every day because we go to camp. But I mean, if you don't want your life on the line and it's senseless and it has no value or meaning in the eyes of the Most High God, you need to get inside the ISUPK, man, under Commander General Yohana, because this is the only place where so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Indians matters only. Only. We need to get a Black Lives Matter sign that says Black Lives Matter, then we need to add the word only. And when I say black, I'm talking about Hispanic and Native Indians as well. Black Lives Matter only. You understand? And with that, I mind you. Just me up here. ISUPK security announcements. We are the ISUPK. Start out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which a brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers chapter 18, verse 21. Malachi chapter 3, verses 8 through 10, means tenth in the Hebrew. By Asherah, 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the clergy department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocation. Of course, we have the Lord's 54th annual Passover in Raleigh, North Carolina, on April 1st, Saturday. You understand? Be there. It's a commandment. Be there. Remind Akim and Akwat to check the bulletin board in the hallway if anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, to start wearing all black, boots, shirt, pants, headband, or war scarf. And with that, class dismissed.